I started this sweater thinking it would be simple, a familiar pattern like visiting an old friend. But then I started making mistakes, quite a lot of them, which made me realize something about knitting I hadn't quite understood before. Ever work on one of those patterns where every step you take, it's like another wall you have to climb? I don't know, every technique that's mentioned sees you rushing to the internet to do another tutorial. Working with the yarn is like working with chopsticks. Well, that's not this pattern. I'm remaking the poppy tea out of this glorious, glorious red yarn. Interestingly enough, the first time I made it in my classic blue. I made it out of a wonderful Knotty Habit, knock your socks off yarn. I think it's what she calls her navel base. It's beautiful deep blue. I love that top so much. And I was looking for a red yarn and I couldn't find it, the exact red that I wanted. And then a local yarn dyer offered to dye it for me. And we almost did a little bit of a collaboration because at some point he dyed it and he showed it to me and he said, I know it's not quite right. And I said, oh, I don't know anything about dyeing, by the way. I mean, I'm fascinated by dyeing. But I said to him, it feels like it needs more black. I think I said black, like it needs to be deepened. And he found that remarkable and kind of went off and did his genius little thing and came up with this. I mean, my recent fear now is that it might wash out when I block it, but I think I will use vinegar. Anybody have any other tips? I think or there's the color catcher doesn't stop it from bleeding, but I think vinegar, if you rinse it in that first, holds as much of the color in as you can get. I don't own anything this red. I don't even know. I think I have a red dress. And I have, of course, I have my Order of Garter beautiful red cardigan. So it's not true. But yeah, I do, even with my blues, I have my love affair with red. The next thing I'd have to do something in yellow, right, to get all the primaries. But I thought I would make the lentil with this. And I started, and then I made a mistake, and then I thought this is just not working. So I frogged it, and I thought a little bit, and I realized, hey, what if I make the poppy tea? And I mean, this pattern is, I've only knitted once, but coming back to it felt like coming back to an old friend. It's the opposite of the pattern I was describing a moment ago. It's familiar, it's inviting, it is warm, not at all intimidating, it's incredibly pleasant. And I started yesterday, and it's like just going. I got to a point in the pattern where you now have to join all the things because it's that contiguous, I think that's what it's called, construction. So you're breaking yarn a little bit in the beginning, and then eventually you're going to join in the round and then make this beautiful sweater, come back, pick up for the neck, and so on. This is sport weight, and I'm making this with 3.5 millimeter needles, I believe. and I'll do the ribbing in 3mm needles. This is very comfortable for me, working with this weight of yarn, sport weight, with these needles. There's something very pleasant about just, and of course it's stockinette. Sorry, I didn't say I've got this beautiful Johannesburg sun. It's 7:30, guys, in the morning, but I've got this glorious sun on my face. I'm sitting in my garden on my precious bench. I love it so much. So I thought I'd chat to you from here today. I also wanted to just say welcome if you're new here. I didn't even introduce myself. My name is Yewande. I live in Johannesburg, as you just heard, and yeah, I'm a knitter and I'm a writer. And I like in the space to talk about knitting, to talk about, yeah, the creative life and color and what it all means. I love also talking about the community around me because there's some amazingly gifted makers surrounding me in Johannesburg, but also beyond. I like to talk about the yarns that are produced in this country that I live in, and I love more than anything to chat with you guys. You can see I'm wearing my Cozy Classic raglan for the second time in a row. It's a bit warm. I won't wear it today. It's like in the sun. It's a bit much, but I just couldn't resist coming on here in this garment that I love so much, and that this community kind of made with me. It feels like, if I can say it that way, and so in a way, wearing it as a way to say thank you. And look, we did it. Um, so yeah. I think you'll be seeing me make my poppy tea. You're probably going to see me in this video, working a little bit on this. And what is this? Anybody remember the humble washcloth make along? I haven't forgotten. This is, I don't know, this must be my 15th washcloth. I've made so many. These are wonderful, and I've been working with two patterns. There's one called All Washed Up, which I talked about before, but this is a new pattern that I've come across by a local maker here in Johannesburg called Juanita, and I think her handle on Instagram is One Knits. I'll put a little thing there so you see it. Please follow her, and she gives excellent. I think she does several kinds of classes, but one of the ones I know she does is on journaling, and how to keep a journal, a making journal, a knitting journal, and she gave a class on that some weeks ago at the Yarn Room, which is a local kind of yarn home for makers and fiber artists. So I'm knitting that. This is like the third of her pattern I'm making. I've made a trio of them, and it's a very pleasant pattern. Let's see how much of this you can see. And it's basically lots of seed, but she's got really, it's free by the way, I forgot to say, but she's got really clever ways to make sure that it's very neat along the sides. And it's a wonderful kind of generous size when you're done. And in case you missed it, I'm making all of these because I'm going on a little holiday, family holiday with the big family, my husband's family, and I we like that, right? I felt compelled, of course. They all know that I knit, and I felt compelled to I'll show up with some gifts. But I thought, oh my God, I can't. Initially, I thought I would make scarves for all the women, but even that felt a bit overwhelming because there's probably like 10, and they were just the list kept getting longer about who was going to come along on the trip. Sorry, my hair is doing all sorts of things. So eventually, I thought, you know what, I'm going to make a bunch of washcloths. And my hair is just doing crazy things. You know when it doesn't know its right from its left. Anyway, the light's going a little bit. So I thought, well, what if I made a bunch of washcloths, like 25? And I just said, hey guys, here are all these washcloths. If you like them and if it's your vibe, grab one. If it's not your thing, give it back. I know many things I can do with it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to make a bunch of washcloths. I think I've already made 15. I might make 10 or so more. In fact, I've taken some out because then took one to use on myself. I gave each of my sons one. You know, they're at an age where they're learning to wash themselves. I thought it was sweet if they got their own washcloths. And then I had some guests and I gave them. So of course I'll use those, you know, for my guests when they come. So some I'll keep because they're actually super useful in any household. And then several I will have as gifts for the family. So it's a very easy make along to join. I mean, there's no big hoo-ha. Just if you feel like doing it and chatting about it and posting about it occasionally, please do. I am still doing it and loving it. Um, and then I think the other thing you might see me doing in this video at some point. Oh, I forgot to say, I'm keeping my poppy tea in this quite lovely basket. I now have two of these. Just the other day, this arrived on my doorstep as a surprise gift from a friend of mine who knows I love them. And it's Skinny Malinks, which is this South African company, beautiful design company. But yeah, I haven't forgotten that I am making something called a Seine Sweater. I haven't quite gotten around to recasting on. If you went back a few videos, you would see that I cast this on and then I made a terrible mistake and I had to frog it. But I am going to, it's the start of the weekend, it's Friday morning. After my work day, I think I'm going to settle this evening. What I thought about this is I need time. Because last time, you know, I kind of half cast on the stitches and then had another moment and I cast on the rest of the stitches. Then I was busy watching something at the end of the day and trying to do I need to pay, beginnings matter. I need to pay attention. So I thought when I know I'm going to have like 2 hours to cast on all the ridiculous number of stitches that you begin with, and to knit a few rows so that I can get into a groove, I'll start it. So I think I could get that this weekend. I think it's been a very busy time in my household and my work, but I think this weekend I can find 2 hours. I can find 2 hours. So you're going to see me doing those sorts of things, and I'll take you along. I'll share whatever insights pop up as they do. You know my style, just organic and seeing what comes. Thank you so much for coming along. Thank you for engaging in my knitting stories and sharing the experiences with me. I hope you're working on something as you watch, and I hope you enjoy this episode. I know I might look a little shell-shocked. I've been knitting. I have my knitting light here. It is past 11 p.m. I just thought I needed to come on and say I was determined. I was determined to cast this on. This is the Seine Sweater, and yeah, I was just determined to cast it on. I'd started casting it on, and I talked about it in a couple of videos ago, or I talked about it in another video, and I was really intimidated, and I had said, look, the way I need to approach this is I need to have 3-4 hours to sit and just progress. So I'd said, Saturday night, when the kids are in bed, I'm going to sit down, I'll watch something interesting, or not, because that's what got me in trouble in the first place. I'll focus on what I'm doing. Let's not mess around. This is it's one of the more complicated patterns I would say that I've ever knit. Sorry, just making sure I don't, rather long tail. I don't need to. So this was the night. I recast on, and it was a mess. I had to frog it in seconds, not because this time I had the wrong amount or whatever, but she has you do an alternating cast on, or what I think is a cable cast on. Cable cast on, I think, is famously loose. When I say loose, is it lacks structure. I don't want to give too much away, but you start with alternating cast on, and then you begin immediately knitting a double collar. Immediately. So already you have a 1x1 ribbing double collar. I think that's what it is. So immediately you're doing your purling and your, God, it's a pain in the butt. So I just decided I'm not going to do the alternating. I'm just going to do I think I do the German twisted cast on, or one of those, whatever. Do a long tail cast on, basically. Just do a long tail cast on. It might not be the exact same edge, but I wouldn't suffer. And so that's what I did. It's taken me hours. I think I started at, I don't know, 9 o'clock. I have, so some wonderful person on the comments said the way to manage, because it's over 150 stitches here, over that. I don't want to give the exact number. I know it's a paid pattern, but it's a lot of stitches you start with. It's very thin yarn. The needles are kind of skinny. And then one other thing I forgot. I'm knitting with this dark yarn. Now, I know people have said before, oh, knitting with dark yarn. I guess I've never knit anything particularly complicated, or maybe this thin in dark. And in fact, I was determined that I would do this tonight, but I think going ahead, and I had my light, so I wasn't straining my eyes too much, but I think in future, I will make this during the daytime, not at night. I hope that it's right. I'm just looking now. I'm just looking to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. It's almost like I don't have enough rows to know for sure, but I think it's right. I'll show you up close. It looks like ribbing, right? It doesn't look like I'm messing it up. Anyway, somebody gave this wonderful comment, which he says, when you have many stitches like that, every 10 stitches, or every 5 or whatever, 20, put in a marker. So I've got every marker I own, I think, on this work. Almost every marker I own. That's why it's all hodgepodge, all the little markers I could find. That was brilliant, because even when I was casting on, I did it. Because, it's so exhausting. You're casting on, you know that it's a certain number, and you keep counting back. And this way, I just counted 10 by 10 by 10 by 10. And because the first time I did it, that had been a drama. And then, sorry, I must look shell-shocked. I feel like I look a bit crazy, but hey. So I have a sense of relief, like, okay, I've started the Seine Sweater. I am going to make this slowly. I mean, yeah, it's fine. I need to knit this to a certain length so that you have a bit of that collar, and then I'm going to start making the yoke. This is not the scariest thing. And the reason I got so disheartened is like, this is not what really scares me in this pattern. There's a lot of stuff coming that I'm like, huh? What is that? So it's okay. I'm going to just take it slowly. I'm going to just enjoy the sense of, I don't know, pleasure in making something that I know is beautiful, that I think is beautiful, in yarn that I think is wonderful, in colors that I adore. And that's me. I'll see you a bit later. Night.
Friday it's pizza for the boys, and we can do risotto for us. Risotto with what? What do you want to use with saffron? Well, let's try saffron.
Aye. It is 9:44 p.m. on Sunday night. I'm about to go to bed because it's been a fairly intense weekend. Pardon all the accoutrement behind me of my home, but I just thought, okay, I'm here, I'm in the kitchen having a cup of rooibos tea, and I thought, let me quickly share a little bit because I have been knitting away at the Seine Sweater. And you have to, please, this is hours and hours of knitting. And it's a double knitted collar. It's kind of the first part of the project, the garment. And boy, has it given me a run for my money. But do you think I look at this with pride and joy? Yes. Yes, I do. It's very beautiful. I mean, there were times making it, I kind of almost cursed the designer because I'm like, come on. But it's so kind of squishy and lovely, and I imagine it's going to give this amazing structure. I do actually love the neck. The neck is not a typical, if you look at the picture, put it here, it's not quite square, but it's not just typical crew. I'm not sort of sufficiently technically inclined to know what that neck is called, but I think it's stunning, and I think this is going to look very beautiful. I mean, this is not a try-on. This is not time for trying on. I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but bear with me. The only change I made, and I really hope it doesn't bite me in the bum, I think it's okay, is I've got this funny thing here. Let's see if you can see here, yeah. So she asked, this is the cast on edge, right? She asked for, what did she call it now? Cable cast on, alternating cast on. And I may not have understood properly or something, but I just find that cast on very loose, very difficult. And you do your alternating cast on, then from the get-go, you start making the double knitted, and it's ribbing. It's 1x1 ribbing. So I tried to do that thing several times, and it just wasn't working. So I decided that I will do a normal long tail cast on, and that's what this is. I mean, I'm not sure what I'm missing. I'm sure that maybe you can sort of see. I'll show a picture. I'll show you a picture because I think I'm not getting it in the camera properly. But I guess you can see something or other, and maybe with the alternating, it's a bit neater, and you can't really see that there's a bit of a line. And I'm okay. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I'm proud of myself that I managed to get this going. I don't seem to have made any mistakes. I mean, maybe in one or two places, but there's the beauty of the dark yarn. I don't think anybody would ever pick that up. I can barely pick it up. When I look at this thing, it looks good. And people, she says knit to 4 centimeters or approximately. I'm going to stop. This is approximately 4. It might be a little bit shy of 4. In fact, I think it's 4. I think it's 4. So I'm good. I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to move on to the next step. The next step, you start the yoke, and the beautiful yoke, you start with that. And I think that will probably be the most complicated, apart from the neckband, part of this sweater. Top, whatever you want to call it. Today's Sunday, I will get back to this next weekend. So I, why am I laughing like an idiot? Because I've made mistakes. And I contemplated quietly correcting them and not letting anybody know. But I mean, yeah, the point of this is to have this recording and this kind of diarizing. And anyway, let's get to it. Let me show you. Let me show you something beautiful in this pattern. But look at that. You can see that there are no mistakes there, right? It's this beautiful kind of steady increasing that happens with this particular shoulder construction that Petite Knit uses for the poppy tee. Too many P's and T's. And there are kind of 4 of these in the yoke because you're increasing like that. You can see it here, of course. And I've done it perfectly for one sleeve, and I've made mistakes with the other. This is sorry to get slightly technical here, but it's the increase where it's like make one left, make one right, and maybe I juggled my left and right for one of them, which spoils the symmetry and the beauty of that stacking. And so I need to correct that. I do. And mistakes are so fascinating because are you one of those people, I'm like this, where you make a mistake and then you talk to yourself about the mistake and you're like, okay, it's a mistake, but it's okay. Or you think, oh, it's a mistake, but let me look at it. Then you ask somebody, can you see that anything's wrong with this? Do you notice anything? You're kind of checking it. I've seen in the comments, everybody has a different, most people say, look, if you find something's wrong, then you ought to just correct it because it will bother you forever. And rather rip back now than rip back, you're like talk yourself into it being okay, and then you still end up ripping back anyway. So, and I totally agree with that. And I guess one of the things I want to mature in my knitting is, have a really almost collegiate relationship or collegial relationship with mistakes. Mistakes are just part of this work. We're working with our hands. We're not an algorithm. We're working with our moods, with our attention and momentary distractions, and something that's the beauty. And part of the beauty is going back and fixing something. So, one question here. I'm not going to chitter too much, but the issue here is how to fix it. I could go back to before the error and put in a lifeline. It's a lot of stitches, but I could do that. And rip back, frog back to the lifeline and just continue. Doable. I could, which is a little tedious, but maybe easier. I could try and ladder it back. So I think we're looking at 3 stitches involved in this error. So I could put them on a needle, on their own little needle, ladder them back somehow, and see if I could almost do the surgery in situ. You know what I mean? I mean, that's worth a try. If I mess it up, then I just frog back, right? So I think I've sort of talked myself into what I'll do for this one. I was a bit disappointed in myself when that happened, when I saw that, because I thought I was really doing well. But that's okay. It's okay, Yewande. It's okay. It's okay. Oh my God, this one is much more painful. This one's much more painful because it is the damn double folded neckline. That was perfect. It was perfect. There was nothing wrong with it, except I know what I did wrong. Somebody had wisely told me I'd been struggling with it, right? So she said it was so many, like over 150 stitches in the beginning for this thing. So she said, put a stitch marker every whatever. So I put a stitch marker, I think, every 10 stitches, which was wonderful. And that's how I did. And that's why this was perfect. I did the whole thing that way. And then the very first instruction after you finish the 4 centimeter, whatever, approximate neckband, the very next thing is you just start knitting. And I thought, oh, okay, I can, because very soon you're going to put you're going to then put the markers to mark the raglan increases. And I just thought, yeah, I'm knitting now, I can take those off. And what I should have done was count, because it's likely that I picked up an extra stitch somewhere. Why is it likely? Because when I then got to the place to do the raglan, I had one extra stitch. Oh, I want to, it's a wonder I'm not crying. I'm crying inside. Can you see that I'm crying inside? I had one extra stitch. And then I thought, okay, I'm just going to knit two together. But I didn't, and I did something else. And in what I was doing else, I made a mess. I'll take a picture there. I just made a mess. And now I cannot bear the thought. Firstly, I don't know how to rip back and catch double knitting. You know what I'm saying, right? I don't have to say all the words. You guys get me. Like, I don't know how to rip back and pick up. What? So this is much more painful for me. It's not, I almost don't know how to sort this out. I thought, I'm going to try though. I am going to try. And I'm going to go, I looked up on Very Pink Knits. She's got a great little tutorial on how to pick up, because when you pick up stockinette, it's easy. When you have to go back and do a lifeline for stockinette, it's easy because you just pick up the right side of that V, whatever the V is that way. When it is the pearl, you don't know what to pick up. But somebody had a great suggestion. I hope I remember to put the link. I'm sorry, I haven't been very good in my last few videos with links and so on. But somebody had the suggestion that it was quite clever. You pick up the V, the right leg V on the right side or on one side, then you turn it on the other side and you pick up the right leg V's on that side, and that way you picked up all the stitches. So you have two bits of pickup. So that's very helpful. I'm laughing because I don't know. What I do, and this is very meaningful, I can see myself wearing this garment. I can see the beautiful navy, the dark navy that's making it an absolute nightmare to work with. I can just see that. That's my color. That is my color. Color of my soul, that color. With that beautiful bright green, I can just see myself sauntering down the street in this resplendent garment. And that is, I hold that vision in my heart. And there's a lesson there. And so I need to learn. That's what we come back to. We're learning. I come back to, actually, Very Pink Knit said something interesting. Sorry, I call her Very Pink Knit. I must check what her actual name is. She's amazing. And she said that she talked about there's a proactive lifeline and a reactive lifeline. I'm often doing the reactive. And I had a sense like, to become more mature, I should do proactive lifelines. And they're the easiest to do, because all you do is you knit a row, and then you just string with a needle, you just put a line of string into that row and then keep knitting. That's it. That's your proactive lifeline. And then the lifeline is there, and you can always go back to it if you get into trouble. So I had this thought in my head. I imagined, wow, that's kind of what is, because the misinterpretation is like, oh, I'm an expert knitter, so I never make mistakes, so I never have to do that stuff. And it's the corollary. It's actually like, I'm quite an advanced and mature knitter, so I have all these proactive lifelines because I know that mistakes happen. Somebody was so sweet on the comments. She said, oh, I've been knitting for 50 years. I still get my cables crossed. And I was like, bless you. Thank you for making me feel better. I definitely have not been knitting for 50 years. But, it was wonderful to hear from somebody so seasoned and say, like, we make mistakes. And I think that's the point I'm trying to make here, that being a kind of an expert or mature knitter is not the absence of mistakes. It's the capacity to spot the mistake faster, know that they'll be there, so you have the proactive stuff. You spot it because you're always looking for mistakes. So I wasn't looking, and so I only discovered it later, right? And it's this little fine calibration that it's not the absence of mistakes; it's actually the knowledge that mistakes will occur. And my task as an expert, as a mature knitter, as advanced, is to catch them faster and fix them with finesse.